Jai Baba. Nothing is real but God. Nothing matters but love for God. God is the only reality. All else that seems real is illusory. God and I are one. Meher Baba. Avtar Meher Baba ki jai. Thank you, beloved Baba, for allowing us to meet again in his remembrance, in his love. And today's topic is dedicated to none other than our Rakesh, because Baba talks about chai. So let us read what Baba has to say about cha. Okay, Soumya, go ahead. The chapter is called On Desires and Bindings. It is from Questions Meher Baba Answered by Meher Era Publication, page number 25. Go ahead.
Tea is a drink
No. First.
given at tea time on 5th August 1926.
Given at tea time. Rakesh. Okay.
Tea is a drink liked by most persons in all countries. In Gujarati, we call it chaha, which also means love. Both these chas, if confined within material limits, have no spiritual value. One cha, tea, is injurious to health if taken in excess, and the other cha, love, may be injurious to spiritual growth if it is for tea and sense pleasures. Love gives rise to bindings if it is connected with worldly and carnal desires.
Okay.
All desires, if they bring about the bindings of sanskaras, are from the spiritual standpoint not at all worthy of praise. But the desire for self-realization is so sublime and so binding in the love for the Almighty that if it is sufficiently intense, it frees one from other desires and bindings. Your Jivatman, individual soul, is in the bindings of the mind, the subtle body, and the gross body. Its bindings are both mental and physical. But when the Jivatman crosses these bindings and becomes one with the original source, there is no desire left for it. As long as your desires are within the limits of the material realm, they are redolent of illusion, Maya, and give rise to formless impressions or Nirakar sanskaras. It is only when all these impressions are burnt up or destroyed that the Jeev Atman reveals itself. Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga are good remedies for wiping out one's sanskaras. A better remedy is surrender to a perfect master. From the Meher Message, Volume 1, Number 11, November 1929, pages 6 and 7.
So here Baba talks about chai, chaha. We always talk about cha. We just had one, going to have one. Okay, the chapter is titled On Desires and Bindings. It is given at tea time, so maybe around the same time as we are reading now, or maybe a little before this. And this was given on the 5th of August 1926. Almost what, 96 years before. Right. Tea is a drink liked by most persons in all countries. In Gujarati, we call it cha, which also means love. But these chas, if confined within material limits, have no spiritual value. In other words, the chai is very nice, it is very refreshing, but if you overdo it, it spoils your health. The other cha, which is the love, if it is only within the material limits, it creates bindings. So here Baba says, one chaha, tea, is injurious to health if taken in excess, and the other chaha, love, may be injurious to spiritual growth if, sorry, if it is for tea, if it is for tea and sense pleasure. In other words, love, Baba is just playing around the word chaha and tea. If the love is only for tea, that means you keep on consuming tea. Or if your love, chaha, is only for material pleasures, sense pleasures, sensual pleasures, then it is not good, then it is harmful. Love gives rise to bindings if it is connected with worldly and carnal desires. See, when Baba talks about love, we've done it several times before, but I don't mind repeating it. Love is that which gives and does not expect anything in return. Love is like oil poured on water. It just spreads all over, does not discriminate, does not have any conditions. It is unconditional. Whereas ghee coagulates and goes at settles at one place. So Baba says that this interested love is one of the highest types of love. Disinterested love means where I do not have any personal interest, where I do not think of any kind of payoff, where I do not get any kind of pleasure or a payback, a kind of a kickback, then that is pure love, unadulterated love, real love. What's wrong with it? All desires, if they bring about bindings of the samskaras, are from the spiritual standpoint not at all worthy of praise. That means any desire, even if it is a good desire, it binds. And therefore, when we say it binds, which means what? It has created certain samskaras which are now attached to our mental body. Then Baba says any desires which are binding, which create samskaras, are not worthy of praise. There's only one desire to see God, desire to feel God, desire to become one with God. That desire, although it may apparently be a sort of a karmic aspect, a karma, ultimately let let other desires dissolve or go in or just vanish into thin air. So this is one desire. Baba talks about desire only for desirelessness, hope to rise above all hopes, want nothing and you will have everything. We have been hammering this over and over again like a poem, but that's how it just gets into our system. Here Baba says, but the desire for self-realization is so sublime and so binding in the love for the Almighty that if it is sufficiently intense, it frees one from other desires and bindings. In other words, that is one desire for self-real. When we say desire for self-realization, what does it mean? That means there has to be such intense love, such intense desire to achieve that state of self-realization or God-realization that we sacrifice, that we ignore, that we let go, that we allow it to fall off all the other desires. So in other words, this one particular desire will ensure that the other desires gets dissolved or annihilated. Your Jiv Atman. Now this was given in 1926. So he is using the word Atman. Later on he talked about in God Speaks and other places, he talks about Atma. but it is one and the same thing. Your Jivatman, that means individual soul, is in bindings of the mind, the subtle body, and the gross body. There is a soul, what is called as Jivatma, which may also be called as a drop soul. That Atma, although in the human form, is fully equipped to realize God in that very first incarnation as a human being, unfortunately is unable to do it because it is enwrapped, because it is enveloped, because it is covered, because it is shrouded, because it is burdened by what we call samskaras. What are samskaras? They are the impressions of past actions. They have been loaded on our mental body and they cannot be easily eradicated. They become like blinkers. You know, blinkers when the horse racing or any even our so-called ghoda gari, we call it we call it tonga, we call it gachkaran and all that. Even that has blinkers. So even though the capacity to see all around is there, it is restricted artificially, temporarily, impermanently with those blinkers. And what are those blinkers? Our own samskaras. So Baba says that your Jivatman is in bindings of the mind, the subtle body, and the mental body. In other words, that particular, I'm sorry, the gross body. In other words, the soul is bound or covered by three bodies. First, the mental, then the subtle, and then the gross. And as the samskaras get liquidated, annihilated, loosened up, rarefied, thinned out gradually in this process, gross, subtle, mental, in the ulta process. So first the gross samskaras get very, very thin, rarefied, and they get converted into subtle samskaras. That means the gross samskaras are not there at all. The person has entered the first plane of the spiritual journey, the evolutionary journey, and that person is now called subtle conscious human being. He is not conscious of the gross. But I don't want to go into the God speaks aspect of that. What Baba says here is that the Jivatman has got the binding of the mental body, the subtle body, and the gross body. Its bindings are both mental and physical. The binding is mental as well as physical. But when the Jivatman crosses these bindings and becomes one with the original source, that means self, that means God, when that so-called Jivatman is transformed into Shivatman. So here Baba says, but when the Jivatman crosses these bindings means overcomes these bindings. Overcomes means these bindings means experiences and negates and uses out, expands them, balances out. Finish. You can't cross over. There are bindings and you cross over and the bindings remain. Nothing of that sort. You utilize it and just let it fall off. So when the Jivatman crosses these bindings and becomes one with the original source, which is the truth, which is the reality, which is the knowledge, which is the power, which is the bliss, which is the self, there is no desire left for it. At that stage, there is no desire left. The only last desire, I would call it a longing to become one with God. Even when that is transcended, you become one with God. And when you become one with the source, one with the truth, one with the reality, one with God, one with self, then there are no desires absolutely. Then you become one with everyone and everything. At that time, like how we did yesterday, at that time, there is no questioning at all because you yourself become the answer to all the questions that are to be. As long as your desires are within the limits of the material realm, as long as, sorry, as long as your desires are within the limits of the material realm, they are redolent of, redolent would mean, what is it? Sorry, suggestive of illusion. In other words, as long as your desires are in within the limits of the material world, they suggest that you are still in Maya and give rise to formless impressions or nirakar samskaras. Obviously, the Kunda, could you please mute your mic, dear? Anyway, Dr. Kunda, thank you, dear. So, in other words, as long as the desires persist, you are within the domain of Maya or illusion, and you are constantly accumulating or amassing what Baba here calls Nirakar Samskar. Nirakar Samskar means formless impressions or formless samskaras. Obviously, the samskaras do not have any form. It is only when all these impressions are burnt up or destroyed that the Jivatman reveals itself. It is only when these impressions are balanced out, burnt out, negated, or whatever terminology we may use, when they are not there, when they are fully over with, annihilated, that is when the Atman realizes the Jivatman. Then Baba goes on to say, Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga are good remedies for wiping out one's samskaras. Bhakti Yoga is where the Bhakti, when the Bhakti is at its charam sima, meaning at its peak, at its apex, at its height, that is when Baba says love is born. That is the meaning of Bhakti Yoga, where you selflessly are devoted to whatever your God. And the other one is Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga also is a good remedy for leading you to the wiping out of one's samskaras. But both these, Baba later on, in a sense, even Baba's teachings, Baba's messages are also, you may say, evolving as it evolves and goes beyond, graduate. Why? Because at that time in 1926, 27, 29, he was running schools for the young children. So he would talk in a language which would be understandable to the children. And by and by, even his terminology, the words used kept on evolving. And then finally, perhaps I would look at it that way. It got crystallized in a sense in the book called God Speaks, where Baba says that nothing of this kind has ever been written before. It's a very beautiful book if we understand it well. It's very beautifully written. So here, what we are trying to say is that Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga help in wiping out your samskara. But somewhere else, Baba had said, but those yogas, including the dhyan, the meditation, cannot make you reach to self-realization. It cannot. Why? And Baba explains that in all these yogas, you, for example, in meditation, the highest state is that of samadhi. Samadhi is a state where there is no thought in the mind. But that does not mean that there are no samskaras. It's a temporary state. You may retain that samadhi for a certain minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, whatever it is, but it is not permanent. The moment you come out of samadhi, all the samskaras will rush into you, and again you are where you were. Of course, so in other words, they are simply held in abeyance for the time being, number one. And number two, in those states, there is no intense longing and love for becoming one with the God, with God. That longing for union is not there. That is the key to become God realized. And that longing to become one with God comes out of divine love. And divine love cannot be created by one's own self. Divine love is a gift from God. Only then. And that is such a gift that the receiver is like a fish flopping out of water. That is what Baba has said. Tadapna. You don't know, you just cannot live for one more second. You want to become one, or you want to achieve union with God. And that longing, that love, that desire to become one with God is not there in the other paths. That's what Baba is saying. This can only come from a living perfect master. Living perfect master would mean a perfect master in the physical form now, or, this is very important, or the avatar, who is the eternal living perfect master. Whether the avatar is in the physical form or not, he is always accessible, always available, and he can bestow that gift of love on anybody whom he chooses. So here Baba says that Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga are good remedies for wiping out one's sanskaras. Baba stops here, but at later date, Baba says, but this cannot make you reach the goal. In order to reach the goal, you need the help of a perfect master, a living perfect master. So your last sentence is, a better remedy is surrender to a perfect master. And surrender, as I say, what is surrender? Sir, under what? Our sir is under the Lord's feet, the master's feet. Let him kick us about. In other words, like how yesterday Mehan had asked this question, a very intelligent question, where I said that if we come to that stage, that we are in a state of equanimity or equipoise in whatever we are going through, as coming from the Master, as coming from our Lord, and there is no aspect, absolutely no reaction, no complaint, no brooding, no weeping, no wailing, nothing, just acceptance, acceptance, acceptance of what is coming our way. If that kind of surrender is there to the perfect master, then maybe his grace will one day descend, and then we will achieve what is to be achieved, what for we are here in the physical form. So here we complete one of Baba's early discourses on desires and bindings, and this was given the mere message, which I told you yesterday. There was a mere message coming up early, during the early times. KJ Dastur was the editor, and then the main messages they stopped, and then afterwards there was the Mir Baba journal. Okay, so here you have volume 1, number 11, November 1929, page number 6 and 7. I'm repeating this. I'm repeating this so that if somebody lays their hand on that, they can always access to that. Okay, any questions on this, please? Anybody has any question on what we did just now? No questions. Lovely. So then we go on to the next chapter. It is called On Love. Again on page 26 of the same book. Questions Meher Baba answered.
How to understand the relation between surrender and
Please ask the question. I am not very good with the chats. How?
numbness.
Yeah, so my question, Saris,
Yes,
is
Rakesh, go ahead.
so like how to differentiate between surrender and numbness. Like you say you are accepting and you are totally accepting whatever is happening as Baba's will and everything. But, one can actually be fooled by this, while you are numb and still you are thinking, okay, I'm in real acceptance of his wish. You're not actually reacting or doing anything.
Okay.
You're just being
When
passive.
I got your point, Rakesh. When I said this, surrenderance, I was talking about surrenderance at the feet of a perfect master, or the avatar who is the eternal living perfect master. And as I always say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Are we irritated, agitated, disturbed, perturbed by anything that is going around us? If yes, then of course the surrenderance is not there. In numbness, I don't know what exactly you mean by numbness. For example, and a person who is very idiotic or psychotic or something to do something wrong with the mind, they may also turn up to be indifferent to whatever is happening in their own life. But that's not a conscious surrenderance or a conscious indifference. It is something wrong with their mental ability, capability, and as a result of which they are not very reactive in their being. Am I making sense? I don't know if I'm making sense. So that is
Yes,
the
yes.
difference between, yeah. For example, I'll just give because somebody asked a similar question, that you say that you need to be detached with everything. That means something is happening, and they mistook detachment with callousness. Callousness means care, hard-hearted. I care two hoots. I care whatever you want to add thereafter. That way. No, it doesn't mean. It means that you are detached from a conscious understanding of the real nature of the self, of the real purpose and the nature of what is happening around you with knowledge, and that is why you are detached with it. Whereas the other aspect of indifference, comes out of either laziness, out of carelessness, or a misinterpreted aspect of, oh, everything is in God's hand, everything is happening according to God's will. Why should I bother about it? That is the negative aspect of uh, what should I say? Indifference, carelessness, I don't care attitude. So that is not what Baba wants. Baba wants detachment with knowledge, with the understanding, with full awareness. In the same way, surrenderance it is with full awareness, whereas numbness is with no awareness or partial awareness. I would look at it that way, unless somebody has a better answer.
No, I got it. Thank you, Jai Baba.
Thank you, Rakesh. Jai Baba. Next chapter is on love.
On love. What is the highest form of love? Sadguru is love incarnate. A perfect master is a pure being, and as it is
Asha
pure,
Parekh, your mic is unmuted. Please mute it. Asha Parekh. Thank you.
a perfect master is a pure being, and as it is pure love that he causes in man, he creates what no man can. Baba says it must be borne in mind that the highest human love is not the highest absolute love. The divine love is the highest aspect of the all-pervading love. One who gets divine love gets God. The divine love is beyond reason and intellect. Nobody can create this highest aspect of love in himself. The divine love is given and not created. It is a grace from the God-man.
Somebody's mic is still on, please. Asha, I think your mic is getting on. Can you please switch it off? Can Rakesh help? Because no.
Help us.
Thank
Help
you.
us.
Thank you.
I'm
Today
putting
Jyoti
on
is the
mute.
host.
No, I'm putting it on mute, but it's not going on mute. It's again
Yeah,
getting unmuted.
then Asha, just be in a place where there is less noise. I know she did say that she's putting it on, she's muting it, but somehow there's something wrong with the phone. Never mind. All right. Now this is on love. What is the high? Why don't you read the whole thing? Yeah, 1 minute. Yeah, read the whole thing.
Philosophies and intellectual gymnastics make you intellectually certain about the existence of God. But it is only the love for God, the divine love, that enables one to find Him, to see Him actually, and become one with Him. One's spiritual progress can never be steady and certain without the divine love. It is the real side of religion and the only element which reveals or unfolds the emotionality of the spiritual path. The highest love is the one which is devoid of all hopes, interests, desires, and expectations. In other words, which is perfectly selfless and disinterested. Unless a person is spiritually minded, he or she cannot be possessed of this aspect of love. Divine love makes his captive forget his own individual existence by making him feel less and less bound.
May I request Veena to please switch off the video? Veena, please. Veena Revan, thank you. Because when you're walking around, I think it would disturb others. Thank you so much, Veena. Please switch off the video. Thank you. Sorry.
Divine love makes his captive forget his own individual existence by making him feel less and less bound in his onward march by the trammels of human limitations, till he reaches a point where he can raise himself to the realization of the highest in himself. Unless and until one is possessed of it, one can never feel ecstasy, one can never behold illuminations and vision relating to the different states of the spiritual path. The divine love knows no law. It is above all rules and regulations, above dogmas and rituals. Nothing can bind it and nothing can set bounds to it. It is fire, an infinite fire in itself, and those who burn in it get purified. Bear it in mind that only the divine love can bring about self-annihilation, which gives self-realization, which can make man lose his individual existence. Meher Baba Journal, Volume 1, Number 4, February 1939, pages 75 to 76.
See, when Baba was asked what is his message to humanity, Baba said, I have only one message to give, and I repeat it age after age. Love God and become God. So love has such a propensity that it can make us one with the beloved God. But the love as we understand is very different from the love which Baba talks about. The love that Baba talks about is so fiery, is so potent that it helps us to lose our false, separative, egocentric, finite self. So that is the heat which it must create within us, that actually finally we lose our separative self and merge in the ocean of love. So let us see now what Baba has to say. What is the highest form of love? Sadguru is love incarnate. Who is a Sadguru? A Sadguru is the same as a Kutub, is the same as a perfect master. Sadguru is one who has become one with God, and without losing the consciousness of I am God state, also retains or gets back other consciousness, which means consciousness of the mental world, of the subtle world, of the gross world, and who has tremendous duty to perform towards the whole of creation. He is called the Sadguru, the highest in spirituality. As Baba said, if Ahura Mazda was there and Zoroaster is there, of course Zoroaster was not a Sadguru. I'm talking about the Sadgurus and the avatar. They both stand at par in a certain sense when the avatar is in the physical form. Although avatar is called the Sahib Zaman, who is the highest of the entire spiritual hierarchy, and he takes over from the Kutub-e Irshad. Kutub-e Irshad is the head of the five perfect masters of the time and the entire spiritual hierarchy. Why I'm going a little deep is so that we understand what we are talking. And never mind if we don't complete this today, we can always carry it forward on Friday. So that is the Sadguru, Tukaram, Eknath, Namdev, Shirdi Sai Baba, Upasni Maharaj, Narayan Maharaj, Tajuddin Baba, Hazrat Baba Jan, Shamsi Tabriz, Maulana Rumi, Hafiz, they are all perfect masters. Moindun Chisti, Guru Nanak, they were all perfect masters, the highest that anybody can get. And Baba says, more important than God, more helpful than God or Paramatma. Right? Try to understand this. Baba said that they can do more good. Because when we talk about Paramatma or Ishwar, they have infinite knowledge power, but they are unconscious. Now, this may sound very surprising, but I'm not going into the domain of God speaks. They are unconscious. They can't help you. When you pray to God, you pray to anybody, the answer would be given by the existing living perfect master or the avatar, who's the eternal living perfect master. Baba had said once, that all prayers to any deity, any Bhagwan, any mandir, any masjid, it comes to me, to Baba, and I have to dispense with whatever needs to be done. Coming back to this word, Sadguru is love incarnate. He only loves. And that is why Baba has said, when some interview, Baba said, I only know three things. One is that God exists. The other is that I am the avatar of God. That means the God-man, God in human form. And third is that all my actions spring forth. These are not the exact words, please mind you. All my actions are a reflection of my infinite love for each and every one in creation. So Baba was only love, 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 love personified. Somebody asked the other day, Baba punishes. Baba never punishes. He is only forgiving, he is only pardoning, he is only uplifting, upholding, giving his hand and say, come on. Never mind if you have fallen 1,000 times, get up and start moving. Coming back to our reading now, a perfect master is a pure being. He is God. He he sees himself in each and every one and each and everything. And as it is pure love that he causes him in man, he creates what no man can. No man can create that love which is required for acquiring or for becoming one with God. Baba says, it must be borne in mind that the highest human love is not the highest absolute love. इसके हकीकी and इसके मिजाजी, इसके हकीकी and इसके मिजाजी. One is love for God and love for anything else in creation. Love for the creator and love for the creation. You may love your mother, your father, your wife, your children. That's a different matter. So highest form of human love is not the highest absolute love. The divine love is the highest aspect of the all-pervading love. We talked about divine love, which is not created, it is bestowed, it is given, it is gifted. One who gets divine love gets God. The moment you get divine love, it means you are shortlisted, so to speak, to become one with God. Because he cannot remain separated from God. The love is, there's a pining, such desire, such longing, that it is definite that the moment you get that divine love, as good as becoming one with God. The divine love is beyond reason and intellect. There's no reason there at all. There's no intellect there at all. It's all pure love. Yesterday only, I think I said, or whatever day it was, that love is all that is. And to have love, one must cross over the threshold of the intellect. So your intellect has no role to play at all. Nobody can create this highest aspect of love in himself. The divine love is given. I use the word gifted because Baba has used the word gifted later on in life. Later on, Baba says that love is a gift from God to men. Obedience is a gift from master to men. Surrender is a gift from man to master. So here Baba says the divine love is given and not created. It is a grace from the God-man. Philosophy is an intellectual gymnastics. Make you intellectually certain about the existence of God. But it is only the love for God, the divine love, that enables one to find Him, to see Him actually, and become one with Him. Yesterday, or whatever day it was, I had said before that there are three types of conviction, there are three types of knowledge. The intellectual knowledge, here what Baba talks about, that through reading, through intellectualizing, through the intellectual gymnastics, we come to a conclusion that, okay, God exists. That is the lowest. Then through sight, through seeing, you actually see God in everyone and everything. But that also falls short of the final experience or real experience. And then finally, you get the experience. That is the reality. That is real knowledge of God as becoming God and experiencing the I am God state. One's spiritual progress can never be steady and certain without the divine love. Without the divine love, you are bound to be waylaid by so many other things which are scattered on the divine path. Most probably what Baba is talking about are the riddicities, the powers of the divine path. You get such powers that you get tempted to use it and then you get wailing. But when you are having divine love, all these powers are like, they're absolutely good for nothing, useless toys. They were toys, but they are useless toys. I don't need them anymore. It is the real side of religion and the only element which reveals or unfolds the emotionality of the spiritual path. The real side of religion is this love, the crux, the kernel, and not the crust or the outer coating, which is through karmakand, shariat, rites, ritual, ceremony. We are so attached to the crust that we do not bother about the crux, the kernel. We are so attached to the crust because it is very easy. It is very easy to perform a certain ceremony, to do ting ting tang tang, puja, ghanti, ghanta, all that. Very easy. But if the master has to say that you have to renounce this and you have to love this with purity, or you're not to do this, that we don't want to do it because it is difficult. So we cling to something which is very ABCD of the religion, and that is the outer rites, rituals, and ceremonies. Baba had said it somewhere that the real purpose or the job of religion is to create love for God, is to create a feeling to see God and the longing to become one with Him. That is the real purpose of religion. Everything else of the religion is an exercise in rites, rituals, ceremonies. It has no meaning. It is just an outer coating, and we are simply wasting our time, energy, money in doing only this and forsaking or avoiding the real thing which is there. So Baba says it is the real side of religion and the only element which reveals or unfolds the emotionality of the spiritual path. In other words, religion, if followed to the core, sincerely and honestly, will itself take you to the threshold of the path of spiritual enlightenment. That means it will take you to the involutionary journey. I've said this many times before. There is a Shariat, which is all this karmakan, mechanical drills. Baba would call it religious drills. Shariat. That Shariat, if you do it at the with sincerity, at the core, understanding the core and the kernel of it, will itself take you to the tariqat. Tariqat is the inner spiritual path. And as you tread along the inner spiritual path, you will have what is known as marifat. Marifat is the gnosis, the antargyan, the inner knowledge, not the external knowledge. It doesn't have to be learnt in the books. It just sprouts from within. Without learning, it unfolds. Yes. So that is the marifat. And as you move along that path onwards from marifat, you reach the hakikat. Hakikat means the truth, the reality, the realization. So that is the thing. But we are so stupidly engulfed only in Shariat that we don't even think that there is something beyond that. We are, and to a very great extent, all the Pandits, Pujaris, priests, Dasturs, and Maulvis, Baba says they are the ones responsible for those masses not to get out of it, and they do it through fear, through a kind of, that if you go beyond that, if you do this, you will go to hell and you will be punished and you will do this and all that. The highest love is the one which is devoid of all hopes, interest. There is no interest, desires, no desire. What is in it for me? No expectations, no payoff, no reward. In other words, which is perfectly selfless and disinterested. I had used that word before, that disinterested love is the highest type of love, where there is no selfish motive. Unless a person is spiritually minded, he or she cannot be possessed of this aspect of love. Divine love makes his captive forget his own individual existence by making him feel less and less bound in his onward march by the trammels means the binding, shackles, trammels of human limitations till he reaches a point where he can raise himself to the realization of the highest in himself. In other words, Baba says that divine love makes his captive. That if you are captivated by this divine love, then you will gradually think less and less about yourself and more about the beloved till such time as you completely forget about yourself and achieve the highest state of self-realization. Unless and until one is possessed of it, one can never feel ecstasy, one can never behold illuminations and vision relating to the different states of the spiritual path. In other words, you should be possessed by this divine love. Only then you can tread the inner spiritual path, which Baba talks about in terms of the involutionary journey. The divine love knows no law. No law. Baba at one place says, that love, that the greatest law of God is love that holds the key to all problems. That love is a law unto itself. So here Baba says the divine love knows no law. It is above all rules and regulations, above dogmas and rituals. Nothing can bind it and nothing can set bounds to it. Nothing can bind it and nothing can create a boundary that beyond that you cannot go. It is boundless. It is infinite. It is fire, an infinite fire in itself, and those who burn in it get purified. In other words, the fire which is burning 24/7 in the urns at the Parsi Zoroastrian fire temple or Gyari Atasveram, or the fire that we talk about, Dhuni, or the fire that is worshipped anywhere else, Baba talks that that is just a symbol. It's a symbolic thing. What is important is that the fire of our longing to become one with God should be burning 24/7 in our hearts. And it should be such a fire that no smoke should escape. No smoke should escape means that there should be no dikhawa, there should be no show, there should be no exhibitionism of that love for God. The moment you exhibit that and tell others how much you love God, then that love is undone. Bear it in mind that only the divine love can bring about self-annihilation. When Baba talks about self-annihilation, he talks about the small s, which means the finite, individualized, self-centric, separative self, not the big self. Bear it in
Cyrus?
mind that only the divine love can bring about self-annihilation, which gives self-realization. There, the self should be capital, self-realization, which can make man lose his individual existence. Sorry? Okay, okay. There, here, Meher Baba Journal, Volume 1, Number 4, February 1939, page number 75-76. Here we end this second chapter called On Love. Anybody has any questions to ask on this or anything related to Baba? There is no,
Yeah.
there are no worms now. Huh? Okay, Dinku, go ahead.
Yeah, Cyrus, when you talk about rites and rituals, I agree there. But then what about the rites and rituals with any religion? About, say, the funeral rites and rituals. Are those necessary or not?
According to my understanding, Baba had said that most souls retain their connections with the body and the place for around 4 days. Then Baba somewhere had also said that what we call 12th day or 13th day, some ceremony is done. But Baba did say that those prayers do help the dissociated, where with the soul, dissociated with the body, the soul to dissociate itself and distance itself. That means those prayers do help for that particular soul to move on to a different dimension. But Baba also said that the best would be that the family members and those close to the departed souls would do their prayers in whatever way or whatever manner or whatever language they do, rather than having, Baba uses this word, rather than having hired muttering of the priest class. Baba had said this. What is the fun? It's all a hypocrisy that you hire somebody to pray for you for the departed soul. Baba uses the word hired muttering. So, according to me, if I'm answering your question, that it does help to a very great extent for those 3 to 4 days. After the 13th day or whatever, again, in my understanding, there is nothing needed to be done, but people keep on doing it for years altogether. That's each one's, to each his own. We cannot say. I can only say what I have read in Baba's authentic literature. And this is what Baba has said, that there is no need. For certain people, I've known that Baba had said, not even those first 2-3 days, but the 4th day prayers are some family, 4th day prayers are very essential. So you do those prayers and then give the food to some poor and all that. And then that's about all that, forget about everything. So this is what I can say based on what I've heard from Baba's literature, what I've read from Baba's literature. Got it, Dinku?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Welcome. Anybody else has anything?
Uncle, yes, I have a question, Uncle.
Yes, Janice. Dinku, can you
Jai Baba.
One minute. Thank you. Go ahead.
So, Uncle, when we say the longing for God is a real longing to be one with God, is
Yeah.
the only longing we should have. So, is this longing also creating binding of any kinds? Because somewhere I read, I may be wrong, I can't even recollect where exactly, that Baba had said, maybe I'm wrong, Uncle, I'm just asking you, that you should not have any desires either for this world or the world beyond. So then, if we are longing to be one with God, does that longing, is that okay to have that longing?
I got your question. First of all, what we talked about the longing can never occur to us unless and until we are gifted with that divine love by the Lord, by Baba. That longing will never be created. Whatever longing is just whatever longing that you talk about, perhaps is not what Baba talks about that longing. That's number one. Number two, Baba says that that longing is essential to a certain extent to take you to the threshold of where you can become one with God. And at that point, you have to even drop off or let go that longing and come to a stage of what we call as let thine be done and not mine. Let thine be done and not mine means even there that longing to become one with God has to be dropped, has to be given. And we have to say, Baba, whatever is your wish, you do of me. At that time, that kick on the backside will come and you will be pushed off from the so-called dream to the awake state, from Dvaita to Advait, from ignorance to knowledge, from darkness to light, from whatever it is. So that what I'm trying to say in short, Janice, is that that longing that you spoke about perhaps is not the longing that Baba spoke about, because that is so intense that you don't even want to ask a question. You understand what I'm saying? That is so
Yes.
self-evident. That is so self-evident that you will say, what are these fools doing over here? Nonsense, just discussing. That is their longing, which is a different ball game altogether. But yes, what you read is correct. That at that fag end of the journey, you need to drop that real original longing also. Only then you will get that kicked in the back, right?
Yes. So, how do we reach to that level of that kind of longing?
But that's what I'm saying, dear Janice, that you cannot reach on your own, because Baba himself says that love cannot be created. It is given. It is gifted. It is by his grace that will come. And grace has no logic, like the whim. If you are reading God speaks, a whim. The whim is a whim. It is not why it happened, when it happened, how it happened, why did it happen at this time and not that. It's just a hooky. You just get a whim to do something and you just do it. Maybe afterwards you will think, why did I do it? I don't know. You just do it. So in the same way, this what Baba calls as a gift of divine love is just given as a grace. But Baba says that it is a grace or it is a gift very rarely given. Why is it very rarely given? Because it is so hot, so burning that the person, if he is not prepared, if he is not ready to receive it, he will just become bhasham. He will just become absolutely, he will not be able to contain it. I remember once Baba had only said that there was once a Baba disciple, and I think he was some Parsi gentleman who would pester Baba all the time. That Samya promised me that it was at Manzil Amin days, maybe yes. From all the time pestering Baba, using that word pest. Baba, I want God realization. Baba, I want God real. Little knowing what God realization is. So one fine day, Baba being Baba, he said, today I'm in a mood to give God realization to anybody who wants, and I can give it to anybody who asks for God realization today. He was also there. But bear that in mind, in mind, that God realization is so hot, that if I'll put in the glass, that cup, the glass will burst. Then don't blame me. the glass will burst. But today I am ready to give God here. Who wants? The cup will burst, the cup will break. Who wants? Everybody is looking down. Nobody is saying, okay, I want. Because they are not prepared. They are not realizing that we are here to burst our cup. Actually, we are here to burst our finite, limited cup so that we become infinite. That, what should I say? Wisdom was not there at that time. So that is why Baba says that it is very easy to ask, but it is very difficult to contain that grace. Got it, Janice?
Yes, uncle. Thank you very much.
I hope
Thank
you
you.
got it.
Cyrus uncle,
Yes.
Cyrus uncle, I want
Yes.
to say something. Sorry
Please.
to disturb. Jai Baba. Sometime back when my husband and I would have Ganpati with a love, I would always say, okay, there are so many people, and Baba would say, give them food. Don't feel offended. Just call them and just give it. And I would give it with just Baba's love and Baba's love to me. I'd always give it. I feel this is the right thing we can, whatever one can do, I'd always do. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Anybody wants to ask any questions?
Cyrus, I have a question.
Please.
You said after somebody dies, on the fourth day you do the prayer. I mean, something.
No, I am just sorry for. I said Baba said for 4 days.
Baba said, yeah.
It
yeah.
will help. It will help to dissociate. Yeah. Okay.
So what
Go
prayer?
ahead. Please. Any prayer.
So you can do Baba's prayers, na?
Why not? Why not?
And
Why
if you
not?
don't do the prayers,
I personally feel that
Yeah.
okay, let me understand. If after death, what changes? Like somebody asked, what happens after death? And one Jnani said, what happens? The dream continues.
yeah.
The dream continues. So if in this dream, which is of creation, if I have a set of mindset that after my death, I am going to go to Baba and merge with him in his infinite bliss. Let us say, if I have got this mindset, if I've got this mindset, then if I die, not if I die, because I'm going to die. When I die, if this shell, if this khokha, if this covering is even dumped in the gutters with no prayers at all, nothing at all, I feel very sure that because my mind is the same, it is not changing after my death. I will continue to remain in the sense, I will continue to remain in the same mindset that I will go to Baba and merge with him. So in other words, if somebody, see, we are all, what should I say?
Program.
No, absolutely correct. Thank you for the, we are all programmed in a certain manner. Now, if we are programmed that you need to do a certain dharam ka prayers, and if it is not done, then that particular soul does feel very, upset about it because it is programmed. And the soul is hovering around the body and the environment where it dropped the body for a certain period of time. So it does feel very, but it does not mean that it will not go and disturb you or something like that. It has to go. The only exception being if somebody commits suicide, then of course that soul will not get entry onto the other side and it will keep on hovering here on this side on the gross plane, trying to experience the residue samskaras through possessing some bodies who have got similar matching samskaras. I have seen so many people, Baba people I'm talking about, where the body is just kept in the electric crematorium, Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai 3 times. Sometimes the aarti is performed, prayer is done. That's all. Nothing at all after that. It does not mean that that soul will be lingering like a carrot somewhere and dangling like a carrot. I don't think so. See, after all, it's all mind. It is all mind. It is all mind. If right now when we are here, if we are thinking that nothing bad is going to happen, if anything after my death, I'm going to straight go to Baba. And if we are fortunate to remember him, take his name, when we read our last, it is Baba's promise in point number 6 of my wish that he will come to me. That soul comes to me. And Baba said comes to me means that soul will experience infinite bliss eternally. Eternally means for all times. So it's like, this is my understanding, let me tell you, because if somebody dies and not ceremony is not done, let that person not haunt me afterwards. कि बाबा आपने ऐसा बोला इसलिए हुआ है.
But thank
Okay.
you, thank you, thank
But
you
if
so
that
much.
person
This
has in
was
his
my
mind,
question also, and then
One
you answered so
one second. Rakesh, let Rakesh
yeah.
come. Yeah.
So if that person has in mind, then if you don't do my prayers, I will not go then.
I would rather please such a person.
Yeah,
See,
exactly. To please him, you do it then.
if somebody close to the person, see, and nowadays
Yeah.
people do, they write it out that this
Yeah.
money you give to this pujari, this money you give to this temple, this prayers are to be done. I personally feel do it. I personally feel, although we may say that it has no meaning, but just to
Make the person happy.
honor the wish of that departed soul, just do it and just finish it off. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, Raksha?
I was saying that this is the question I also had, and thank you, Rakesh, for bringing it out and answer it. Like, this was what I wanted to ask, and Rakesh asked for me.
Go ahead. What is it?
No, the same
Oh, okay.
And I also feel like nowadays how we write wills and go, right? So we should also now I feel that we should also write down like what we want the family to do for us, like when we pass over. If I'm a Baba lover, I do not want all these 12 days or whatever the Hindu rites are. So not to complicate things, I must write down my wish so that the family knows what I want, and no one is questioned that why you did not do the rice, why you didn't do this, and why you didn't do that. When my husband's chacha passed away, so he has a lot of chachas, so they do all those ceremony. But this particular chacha said, I do not want all this nonsense that happened. I just want once I'm gone in the oven. Hello, Tata, Baba. I'm in my own journey. You guys go in the house, drink wine, whiskey, soda, do whatever you want to do. But I do not want this pujaris coming and eating. Yeah.
So when you write your wish, we will read it out, my wish, Raksha's wish.
Yes, definitely. I'm going to make sure that my husband knows that what he should do with me.
Okay, now coming to some serious matters, in the sense, Baba says, life is lived in the mind and not in the body. Baba says, you become what you constantly think about. So it is very essential that Baba is saying that we are actually living our life in the mind and not in the body. And when I say mind, we are pointing here, but this is not mind. The mind is all over. The mind is in each and every cell of our body. You see, it is the intelligence, it is the mind. So in other words, whatever you constantly think about, you become. So it is very essential that we constantly think about God, we constantly think about good things, we constantly think about positivity, because ultimately that is what we are likely to be. Baba said this, and all the great masters have said it. Forget about the masters, even this for so-called new age gurus, they are also saying the same thing. Positive affirmations, etc., etc. So I think we have already finished 2 sessions. If anybody has any questions to ask, please ask. Otherwise,
I have a question.
Yes, Raksha.
Okay, now I know that I need to have Baba's name with me constantly, and if I
Sorry, 2 people are talking simultaneously. Raksha, you talk now. Katie,
yeah,
can you
so
mute your mic for the time being?
Suppose when I breathe my last and Baba's name is not there. Supposing I breathe my last and Baba's name is not there, but my final rites are performed according to what I have said, full Baba prayers and everything. So it's done with Baba prayers. Will I still go to Baba?
Personally, I would say no for the simple reason because Baba
Yeah.
has not given this clause over
Yeah.
there. And if you
Yeah.
forget that somebody prays my prayer, then you will come to me. Baba has not said. But see, these are all hypothetical questions.
I know,
Which
yeah.
I did not know, huh?
Can I ask one question, Cyrus? I'm Katie.
Katie, yeah, please, Katie, go ahead.
See, this is something very unusual because I want to know about organ donation. Now,
This-
Baba, because see, in Zoroastrianism, some priests say go ahead. It's sabab no kaam hai. And others say bilkul nahi. Who are you to rectify or wrong? And now, when Baba's time, Baba was died in 1969. So it was in his time probably there was the organ donation. And so has he any take on it? Because
No.
I want to donate my husband's eyes,
Okay,
not mine, because I'm suffering from hepatitis C and I can't donate anything. I can't donate anything because my blood is infected.
I understand.
So my husband told me do what you want to. After I die, I'm not bothered. So
See, yes, Katie, I
and
got your question. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
who am I? Because what I heard that who am I if somebody is blind? Then who am I to correct that by donating that eye and correct that person's? He's made to suffer by being a blind. And who am I to give the eyes and make that person karma, different? So is it? I mean, it's a very confusing topic. No religion, every religion has a different thing at stake. Even Zoroastrianism, there are two school of thoughts. कोई एक priest के आपको अभी जगह ना आपको. Hinduism, Christianity doesn't allow, Islam doesn't allow, and Zoroastrianism always there is a controversy. So you know about it. So like, what is Baba in Baba's time?
I'll add to the controversy. Don't worry.
I just want because I'm going to donate my husband's eye. I'm not going to donate my eyes.
Okay. First thing is in my reading of Baba's literature, I have not come across. 1 minute. There's something happening in my. I think. My battery is running low. If it closes, it closes. It is Baba's wish. Okay. It
Not
doesn't.
your battery, not
I
your
don't
battery.
know. I don't know why it doesn't. It is on.
Laptop battery.
The laptop battery, I mean, not my battery. Okay. I have not read anything specific directly on this point given by Baba, number one. Number two, again, it's a very individual concept. Now, the logic that you said, why should I give eyes and make somebody see when he's destined not to see? But going by the same logic, why should I give food to the poor? He's supposed to starve. You getting me? Why should I give clothes to somebody who doesn't have clothes? He's supposed to remain naked.
Very frightening. It's very frightening, to.
Yeah, I know. So if you ask me a question whether I know, I have no specific answer because I have not read anything about this on this subject from Baba. There are, again, as I said, I can add to your confusion. There are some people who feel that after we die, we have an astral body which goes into the astral world. And if we give off our body, then we are going into the astral world without an astral body, something like that. There are some people who say, after all, this body is going into fire and being destroyed. Ultimately, it is being destroyed. What is the harm if we are selflessly giving this body to somebody to use it? What's the harm in it? So again, as I said, I'm confusing you all the more. Maybe I'll just give it a serious thought. Maybe sometime down the line, if I come across some hint of what Baba has to say, I will definitely let you know. But right now, I am clueless. I have been asked this question before, but I won't give any answer as coming from Baba. This is my answer. And it is not coming from Baba because I genuinely don't know what Baba has told about this, whether in fact whether Baba has even said anything about this. Right?
Thank you. Because Baba's time there was the young man, 1969. So that time there must be something of.
There's a chat over here.
6,000 years old.
Yeah, there's a chat over here from Ravi Segar who said, well, Baba may be wanting to help. How do you know that Baba doesn't want to help that person in having sight, so that now he has not had sight for 40 years, 50 years. Now he is having sight. How do we know that it is Baba's wish that somebody should, okay, Meru wants to come in and answer something.
I would say it would be that person's karma to get the eyes. So
That is exactly what Ravi is saying.
Karma to see.
Can I also say, Cyrus, I think it is just very simple as the fact that Auntie has got this in her head. You know, this question itself makes it very obvious, and it's like a hint to her that maybe she should go ahead and do it. The thought that has been planted already. You know, I don't want to make any judgments here, or
I understand. Yeah, I understand.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes,
But it could be also true that the very fact that she doubted whether I should give or not means she is not supposed to give.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be.